Nestled in the rolling hills and sparkling lakes of beautiful upstate New York, Watkins Glen International has been synonymous with sports car racing since the track's opening in 1956. Named for the nearby village through which racing took place on public roads until 1952, the Glen enjoys a storied history. Home to IMSA's 6-hour event every June, tonight we will be running an abbreviated version of that legendary event as the drivers of the Major Series tackle the 2 hours of the Glen. 32 drivers in 3 classes of cars will take to the track here in just a few minutes. It's round 6 of the International Region's 2026 Major Series campaign. The green flag is just moments away. Hello, everybody. I am Tim. Joining me tonight is my partner in shenanigans, is Mr. David Forch. Welcome along tonight as we bring you all the sights and sounds from virtual Watkins Glen. Looking at a track map there, you can see all the different cars getting their final warm-up laps in, excuse me. We got sports car racing coming at you, and it is going to be multi-class, which means traffic is going to be the name of the game for the entire duration of this 2-hour race tonight. What we have here, 3 distinct classes, starting with the GTP class. These guys are going to be the fastest cars on track. They will be leading us to the green, followed by the LMP2 class. They'll be kind of in the middle. They look very similar in appearance to those GTP cars. However, they are much different in terms of their performance. That brings us up to the quote-unquote slowest class here tonight. Those are the GT3 machines. Now, these cars here, they are production-based vehicles, and you'll be able to see their resemblance to their street-going counterparts, the Porsches, the Ferraris, the Corvettes, things of that nature. And we will be able to see those guys all on action. So the way the format's going to work, everybody's going to be racing within their own class with their own race, but we're all going to be on track together at the same time, which means those GTP cars are going to come roaring through those 2 slower classes. If you're in the LMP2 class specifically, you will want to be paying a lot of attention to not only the GT cars that you're trying to pass, but also those GTPs that are going to be coming alongside and coming past you as well. Oh, and by the way, you're doing all this with speeds of well north of 120 miles an hour. And you're also trying to race the guys in your own class as well. So it's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to have a lot of scary moments, a lot of close calls, and we will be here to bring it all to you. So we're just about ready to go. I think we're going to have our starting order here in just a moment. We will pull that up here and have that ready for you as we are just a few moments away from the green flag. And there we can see our overall qualifying. Matt Chalker, Dan Stevens making up row 1, Cam James, Ewan Baker, row number 2, Gavin Barber, and Garen Batten making up row number 3. Wayne Taylor, Matt Town, Robbie Bradbury, Brad Wiggins, Cam Dance, Gavin Cox, in row number 6 as we begin to move our way through the different classes. We have, it looks as though we are back at the original row 1 here. As we have Baker up there again, Batten, Wayne Taylor. There we go. Wayne Taylor, Matt Town, Robert Bradbury, Brad Biggins, Dance, Heath Mannering, Robert Northway, Dylan Jordan, Matthew Pluck, Jake Fox, Wayne Hutchinson side by side. As cars are on track, we are gridding. We will have a full safety car lap to start this one off, and there's a good look at our front couple of rows, and there's a good look at your GTP machines. If we stay on this shot right here, you'll see the GTP cars rolling through, and then right there behind them will be your LMP2s. You can see they are pretty close in terms of actual appearance. However, as we see, we are going to see a significant performance difference between these two classes. As we wind our way through the circuit, this track is just a little past 3.5 miles long. We are running the boot layout, which is not the original circuit. The iteration as we know it at Watkins Glen was configured in 1970. Prior to that, the first 15 years of this track existence, the only thing that you would recognize from that layout would be turn 1 and the S's, the rest of it very different. But this track, it's fast, it's flowy, it's old school, a lot of elevation change, and frankly, it is an all-out blast to run around on. It's going to be a lot of fun tonight. Our race duration tonight, 2 hours, as we said earlier on. We do have the potential for safety cars. We do have the potential for weather coming in. We also have live race admins, so the protests could be flying in depending on the track incidents that we have going on here, as we get a good look at those GT3 machines working their way up through the S's, and you can see there are no prototypes directly in front of it. This is part of the direction from race control, and you can see on the track map there, all 3 classes are well split. This is part of the start procedure. Want to have a nice gap built up there so that we can get the race established, get it going, hopefully avoid first lap carnage if at all possible. And you can see the drivers here getting themselves squared away here as we're looking at our LMP2 class here. Another look at the GT classes here going through the bus stop. That little chicane there was installed to slow cars down at the end of that very long straightaway, just out of interest of safety. And then we're going through the carousel heading into the boot section of this track here, as we are now looking at the GTPs. These are your fast class. These are the overall leaders as they are winding their way through what we call the heel of the boot. They're about to make a left-hand turn to rejoin what would be considered the NASCAR portion of the track when NASCAR comes to race here. We have a short chute. You can see right there a left-hand turn up in the distance, then a right-hand sweeper, and we will be underway. So we're only about 30 seconds or so away from this thing going green. Looking at that pace car as it begins to peel off here. You'll see it make that hard right turn into the pit lane. There we go. GTP cars addressing themselves to the starting line. We are underway, and Baker wastes no time putting the throttle down as we go into turn 1. It's a small-ish field of the GTP cars, but we're all safely through. Baker there with a nice healthy gap already. Batten there in second, and Cam Dance slotting in third as we work our way through the S's here for the very first time. As we switch over to the LMP2 cars, I believe, to get their starts, and there we go as they work their way through the S's here. And then the GT3 cars will be taking the green flag as well. Good look at those drivers going through turn 1. Everybody looks like we got away pretty cleanly. We want to keep an eye on our GT3 field as it is the biggest class here in this race as we work our way through the S's the first time. It's very common to have early race incidents through the S's. Great shot of the onboard there going through and down to that long straightaway headed towards the bus stop. These guys still on cold tires, going to have to be very careful for the first couple of laps while these tires do come up to temperature. That is very much something they will want to be mindful of across all three classes, especially in the GTPs. That is incredibly difficult on those cold tires. It can take up to about 3 full laps for the tires to be up to temp and to see these guys pushing. So we have a lot that we are managing here in the opening stanza of this race. But as we see the GT3 cars coming down into the toe of the boot, looks like everybody has gotten away clean and we are well underway. Great looking shot there of Ewan Baker working his way through the S's for the second time. These fast, flowy section of the racetrack, a lot of fun to drive through. Taking it flat out, and you're topping speeds of around 180 miles an hour in these GTP cars that we are looking at right now. And that entry to the bus stop there, a bit of a change from the last time we were here, a much more exaggerated curbing before you would be literally aiming for that inside guardrail. Now, with those big sausage curbs, you got to be a little bit more finesse. You got to take a little bit out of it, and it does kind of reprofile how you want to drive the remainder of that bus stop. You carry a lot more speed through there than you think you do, as we might have a bit of a battle developing here. That's Ben Dowdy in the number 4, sizing up Dance there for a potential move, as we're taking a look at Thomas Hintz. As we go back here, Cameron Dance trying to hold off Dowdy here as we go into what is one of the slowest corners of the racetrack here. Very easy to lose the rear of the car here on that exit as we make the sweeping left-hander, which will go into a sweeping right-hander, feeding back onto the front, or excuse me, the start-finish straight as we complete another lap here. Going down into turn 1, which these two guys are approaching right now, you got to slow it up a little bit more than you think you do, but there's a lot of apron that you can use. The track limits have been put in place, but in years past, you can use all of that outside tarmac at the exit of turn 1. We got to dial it back a little bit now because of the track limits, but you can carry a lot more speed through there than you can initially think you can. So as part of the practice rounds, these guys have no doubt been playing with the limits there, trying to get everything they can from each lap. Dowdy here looked like he was having a look on the back end of the track. However, Dance was able to get away a little bit through the fast stuff. So I'm wondering if maybe Dowdy has a little bit more downforce dialed into his car, which is going to give him more grip in the quarter section. Because as you see here, as we're getting into the technical portion of the racetrack, he kind of closes that gap back up a little bit. This one of the tighter corners that they're coming off right now. It's an uphill climb, and it's the grip builds as you exit, and then all of a sudden drops off for a second as Dowdy takes a peek here, elects to stay where he is. As we switch over to the GT3 battle, we have a 4-way fight for, it looks like it's going to be 18th place overall. We're going to call that about 6th on back in class. And this is exactly what we were talking about here with the traffic. Now, this is just one class fighting together. In a few laps, those GTP cars are going to begin to run down the tail end of this GT3 field, which means as intense as this battle is going to get, it's going to get even more crazy as those GTP machines begin to work their way through it, as we are riding along with Cam James here in that number 21 car. And great shot here, as you can see, about 7 cars nose to tail. These GT3 machines, a lot of fun to drive, very popular on the iRacing service as a whole. It's the biggest class that we have in our field tonight. Real competitive, real fun to drive, and these cars don't really get away from each other very much. It takes a little while for these cars to organically spread out as the race progresses, which will play back into the traffic that we've been talking about, as James right up on the tail of King there in front of him. He's taking a look. I don't think we can really make a move here. He's going to be looking to line him up for a potential move here into turn one. Going to try to get a good run out of the final corner onto that start front straight. As we are going through, we do have our first penalty of the race. Car number 52 is getting a drive-through penalty for the start zone violation. Now, we do have rules about where you can and cannot start the race. Those are very clearly articulated to these drivers in the drivers meeting before the race starts, and it's a little bit different than what we would see in like a traditional NASCAR restart zone. And unfortunately for that driver, he has been handed down the penalty. We do have live stewards here. I did mention that here at the top of the race, and the drivers are able to appeal the penalties, but there is a dedicated process to it. It does look as though Hines is going to stay out another lap. You do have 3 laps, I believe, to serve any penalties that are handed down. So we'll have to keep an eye on if Thomas Hines comes in or if he decides to appeal it. We will pass on that information to you as soon as it becomes available to us. As we switch back to the GT3 battle, this is for the lead in class. Dylan Jordan in that number 21, currently P14 on the road, fighting off Henry directly behind him there. Again, this battle probably not going to go away anytime soon. And if you're the driver here, you're trying to just settle in. It is still very early days here in the race. We have a long way to go. We have pit stops that are upcoming. So you want to kind of bide your time, see what you got underneath you in terms of the car as we jump on board with Robert Henry. This is a great look here going down into turn one. And you can just see the elevation change. The car just kind of drops out from underneath you. Both drivers using all of that curbing, and that's about the limit that you can take without getting an off-track penalty. And then a great shot through the S's here as we look at the rear camera. Another great shot of just how much elevation change you're going through as we're climbing all the way down that back straightaway. Once we get through the S's, still climbing until we get into the bus stop. We're going to carry as much speed through that bus stop, and then the carousel begins to drop away dramatically back down and hit down the hill as we go into the boot section once again. These drivers doing a great job as Henry takes a peek. He's right there, and not quite enough. You can make a move there. You want to be alongside before getting there at this corner here. Another potential passing zone opportunity. Another great thing about Watkins Glen, there are multiple places on this racetrack where you can make moves and get the job done. It's not like some of the other tracks that we'll go to where you only have maybe 1 or 2 passing zones on the track. As we see Thomas Hintz serving that penalty, in all likelihood is that we get that notification popping up that he was in the pits. As a great shot here of Jordan right behind you, trying to see if he can get into that lead, looking for a way by. Great shot of the nose of that Mercedes coming right into your living room here. And you can just kind of see as we were riding aboard there, just even though we were doing the rear camera, the natural flow and the undulation of this racetrack. It's so easy to try to just get into a flow, get into a good rhythm. It has such a natural flow to it. If you've never had a chance to see this place in person or get to drive it here in iRacing, highly recommend it. It's a lot of fun. As we are looking at Cam Danson, we're seeing our first bit of traffic, and there's a good view of the speed differential between the GTP cars and these GT3 cars. Dance right there having to, dance, pardon the pun, as he works his way through the traffic. And you can see here, this is where the decision making is going to come into play. Does he go to the outside? He does. But what's going to happen here is, as you can see, that car, the GT3 car, ducks to the outside. Dance here making the decision to back off because the GT3 following the natural racing line. And this is a tough stretch right here because as a GT3 driver or any driver in the slower class, you are told be predictable. Follow the racing line. Allow the faster car to be the one to get around you. Just be predictable. That one little stretch right there, the predictable line, crosses the racetrack. So it can be tough at times here. But again, Watkins Glen, great racetrack for multi-class racing, as you've seen right there. Dan's having very few issues getting through that bit of traffic. And this will lend itself to the battles for position as this race progresses. Because for these guys here, you can see the GTP directly ahead of Dan's there. That'd be Garen Batten. Those battles for position, it's going to ebb and flow. The traffic giveth, traffic taketh away, as we like to say. Because you can use traffic to your advantage, but sometimes it does take away from that ability to be right up on a car in front of you. There is an art to both getting through the traffic, as you saw Dance there flashing his lights. We also saw a bit of bodywork flying off there. We'll have to see if maybe we can get a replay to see who that might have been. But going back to just getting through the traffic here, there is an art to being passed. There is an art to passing. It's a lot of co-opetition between these drivers. And this is a great shot of Dance just kind of showing what that looks like for the first time. Now, he is just about through the GT3 class at this point in time, and next up is going to be the LMP2s. Now, LMP2s are going to be a little bit more difficult to pass. The GTP still has a lot of top-end speed on these LMP2 machines, and we'll kind of see it when they get there. But the braking ability of the LMP2 is a little bit better than that of the GTP, so it can make it a little bit more tricky than just blasting by GT3 traffic. As we have a battle for position, that's Matt Chalker giving way to Bradbury there in the 35 car. Nice move there, plenty of space given. There's still going to be a lot of give and take here early in the going. We are just about only about 20 minutes or so into this 2-hour event. So a lot of give and take still. As we get down to the business end, that's obviously going to go away as it does in every form of racing. But for now, everybody's being pretty courteous with each other as we have a car in the pits. That's going to be the number 510 machine. I don't have any information about a penalty from race control as we get a good look at Sergei Yankovsky in that machine. And I believe this may have been the bodywork that we saw about flying off the car through the S's about a lap ago. So he will probably be taking either his fast repair or getting those repairs done. This might be a bit of a strategy play in terms of taking service, maybe topping off the fuel. We are in the window of maybe just going off an alternate strategy and getting some of that damage repaired in the process. As we shift back to the overall lead here, Ewan Baker has had the lead and is held on to it since the start of the race. He currently has nice, clear racetrack ahead of him. Again, you can see there on our track map, the gaps are shrinking. You can see it's a big conveyor belt there, right there. And as we jump on board, Batten, a little bit of counter steer there. Very easy to do in that particular corner. The back end gets really light as we work our way with Garen through the final corner and onto the front straightaway. You carry so much speed through that last corner, trying to get the good launch down that front straightaway. And if we can stay on board through turn one here, we'll get a really nice shot of the S's. And this is probably the most fun part of the racing surface here at Watkins Glen. As we first start, we go right, we're going to go left here again, and then we'll go right again. It's just super flowy, super fun, and you're just building speed the entire time down that long straightaway headed towards the bus stop, looking for that red curbing right there, those two sausage curbs I referenced earlier, tight through the bus stop, feeding it to the outside as we go into the carousel. Now the grip builds and builds and builds as you go through that carousel, so you can get on the throttle really quickly. Right here's a little bit more of a tricky corner. You got to slow it down a little bit more than you think you would want to, but you're actually on throttle before you hit the apex, which is a little atypical down this short chute. The second slowest corner of the track here, and on cold tires, real easy to lose the back end of the car. In fact, you see a little bit of counter steer there from Garen as he works his way through here. This is a bit of a longer straightaway. This is one of the other slow corners of the track here. This is a new section here. You can't go, used to be able to go off track all the way there. Can't do that anymore. Slowest corner of the track here. This is where he first jumped on board. Again, real easy to lose the back end here. Coming up into the final left-hander, you need to carry a lot of speed through there. It's a lot of fun to do when you get it correctly. And then the final right-hand corner back onto the front straightaway, and we just got to enjoy a full lap aboard a GTP car with our host, Garen Batten, driving for us. Such a great circuit. Such a fantastic circuit here. And we have a replay here. Thomas Hins getting by. I can't see who that car number is there. It's going to be Gavin Tox here, as he just breezes past on the way into the bus stop. Those appear to be team cars, so that was probably orchestrated in their private Discord, just letting him work his way through. Teammates working together in that particular instance, as we get another look at Garen Batten there, just out of the carousel, headed down into the into the laces section of the boot, we'll call it, going down into the toe, then back around to the heel, working his way back around. As we see a little bit of cloud build up from a couple of those shots, rain is a possibility here in this particular race. Now, looking at the weather currently, it does not appear as though we are any danger of actual raindrops falling, but we will definitely be keeping an eye on that weather just to see if there are any updates. Drivers are going to be enjoying this cloud cover here as well. That's going to help with track temperature, which in turn is going to do a couple of things. One, it's going to improve grip. It's going to cut down on your tire wear. It's going to lead to faster lap times. And just one of the many, many things these drivers are having to monitor as they continue to navigate around this circuit and race their competitors. Get our first look at Ryan Steele here, driving that Dog Bear machine, currently running P18 overall, and we're going to go ahead and call that P5 in class. So having a good run, in a pretty good spot right here. Not nobody too close behind him at the moment. Although as soon as I say that, it looks like King gets a really nice run coming out of that corner. Taking a peek into turn one, they're going to be side by side. I stand corrected, and Steele holds strong on that outside. You can gain a lot of momentum there, but King should be getting a very strong toe up the S's. I'm going to look for him to maybe try to take a peek going into the bus stop. You can go side by side through there, but you're putting a lot of trust in your fellow driver when you do that. So you can see it coming. He's closing that gap just a little bit, and he kind of backs out of it. Good look at those big red sausage curbs on that first entry into the bus stop itself. And again, we climb all the way till we get to the bus stop, and then that carousel we just drop down, and it's a fascinating corner because, like I said, when we were riding with the onboard with Garen, that grip just builds and builds. Normally, when a track drops away, you're fighting that understeer all the way through, but this instance it builds the entire way through. Really fun corner to drive. As King really putting the pressure on Steele here as we jump on board with Mr. King from New Zealand, as we're headed down into the second slowest corner of the track, and he's not going to be able to get away through. There's not much of an opportunity coming up here really until we get back to turn one. You could maybe try a very decisive move going into this next left-hand corner, but you want to be really far alongside of him here. He's probably just going to back off. Try to focus on getting a good exit out of this right-hander feeding onto the front straightaway as we jump on the gyro cam here. Good look at just how much the car is moving. This has always been a fun camera to keep an eye on, as we can see one of the faster cars jumping through there, which just, again, goes to what I was talking about earlier. You're having these intense in-class battles, and then all of a sudden you have that faster car coming through, and what that has done is that has compromised Steele's run out of turn one, and King is going to get through, it looks like. No, he's still behind Steele. Had to give way for the LMP2 machine there, so you can see just how quickly business begins to pick up as soon as those faster class cars gets through there. Steele again compromised through here. Cam James off track. I believe we have a replay here. That was odd looking. That looks like some kind of a potential software failure, potential hardware failure, because he's making the corner just fine, and then all of a sudden it just shoots straight off track for him. So I'll have to follow up on that. That looks like it may have been either a software or a hardware failure of some sort. James is going to take heavy damage from those impacts. Likely going to have to use a spare car for that. We will keep an eye on that and provide any updates as they come along. In fact, we look back at James right there in the pits. He will likely take full service. At this point, we are a good portion of the way through the race as we get our first look at Dylan Jordan. Not our first look in a while. Class leader here for GT3 as we begin to work our way through the S's one more time. And as we cut back to our overall leader, Ewan Baker, he has led since the start of the green flag lap, clearing his way through a little bit of traffic there. We cut to it right as he cleared him, but you can see all three classes there in the same shot, working his way through the S's, going around the GT3 machine. And you can fairly easily do that here through the S's. These cars, they do have enough grip to go offline as we look at Garrett Batten currently running second. We're going to kind of go through the field here a little bit. Batten having a nice race so far. He did not start in the front row, but he's in the row 2, I believe. Gotten ahead of Cam Dance and having a really nice run so far as we see him go a little bit wide there, trying to avoid the Porsche as he goes through this GT3 traffic. And if we stay with this shot, you can see how the Mustang kind of jutes to the left there a little bit. That is the natural racing line. It may have looked like a dramatic move. That was just the Mustang driver saying to Garen, hey, I'm going over here so you can have the right side of the racetrack. Well done there. That's exactly what that Mustang driver should have done. I'm sure Garen appreciated that as we jump back on board with the aforementioned Cam Dance. Currently running in third place in that purple and yellow machine. We did get a good shot of him earlier in the race going through the traffic for the first time. We'll have to see if he is going to make his way to the front. We would expect a little bit more of a march forward. He may just be biding his time, but it's definitely going to be a car that we're going to be keeping an eye on here as we go to the fourth place. Ben Dowdy, our I believe he was started on the front row. I believe I have to go back and look at it. But we're going to jump back to Phil King and Ryan Steele. That battle continues. We're going to break away from our through the field here just because this is really good stuff here. Really tight through the S's here. Both drivers being really respectful of each other. This is good, clean racing as we are headed into the bus stop here. It looks like King did make it through on Steele, so that move had been coming for several laps. Really good battle here. Now we're going to have to see if King is able to pull away. He's already starting to build a gap there a little bit, already clearing as we cut back. As we can see there, yeah, that gap already starting to build there. So I would imagine that King's going to be able to pull away just a little bit from Steele here as the laps wind down, as we see the LMP2 car trying to line up Steele for a pass here. As we cut to Robert Northway, he is our current leader in the LMP2 class. Always a threat here. Very much a driver to always watch out for anytime the major series is on track. He had an excellent Speedway 500 round our last time out. He finished second in the international division, or no, excuse me, he won the international, finished second in the Euro, and I believe he won the US as well. So, very successful round. Did the triple for that round. I'm not sure if he has any plans to do triples or even doubles this go around, but good looking race car there as he navigates his way through the Watkins Glen as we cut to Matthew Pluck there in second. Not too far away, currently less than 2 seconds, so just kind of keeping Northway honest, keeping him in check, just biding his time. Again, still early days in this race. We're not even halfway through this thing quite yet, and he just feeling his way through. We are still in our first stint. Pit stops are going to be upcoming for too much longer, but Matthew Pluck doing a great job here, and Dan Stevens rounding out our top three here in the LMP2 class, as we are getting word that we do have takers on pit road for GT3, I believe is what we're saying. It's going to be Jake Fox there, as he took an early pit stop. Again, don't know if that's for damage. Don't know, nothing from race control about any kind of potential penalties or anything along those lines. Car looks clean, so if he took a fast repair, that might be what happened there. As we jump back with Matthew Pluck there, currently running second, you can kind of see the gap between him and Northway as we work our way through. And then we briefly did cut to Dan Stevens before we got word of the Jake Fox pit stop, but there he is again, currently running third in the LMP2 category, and kind of in a nice little space right now. Nothing too, nobody too close, nobody too far away. Thomas Heinz, his teammate right there behind him. These guys probably just going to go nose to tail for a little while, playing the team game for now, in a nice little spot where they can maybe get a fast lap or two turned in before they begin to run into traffic. If you take a peek at the track map there, it's all just one big conveyor belt now. Not a lot of gaps out there between all of these guys as the classes begin to blend at this point of the race. Dylan Jordan leading the GT3 class in that Porsche. Similar paint scheme to Robert Northway. Those are probably team cars. We do have teams that run in separate classes here, as you can see, and as you can also see a good shot of those LMP2 cars coming through. Dylan doing a really nice job there in P14 overall, currently leading the class. We got Henry behind him there running the Mercedes, and choice of make here does matter. Each of these GT3 cars has its own driving characteristics. They each make their laps in a completely different way. So the driving style of one might not suit. For example, you may not be able to drive a Porsche very well, but a Ferrari may be exactly what suits your driving style. So these GT3 drivers, as we see that King was in the pits there, these GT3 drivers very much have a lot of options when they choose which car, and you can bet that they are choosing wisely and choosing accordingly to whatever's going to give them the best opportunity to have success out here on the racetrack. As Heath Mannering, he is currently our third place car in the GT3 field. Also very similar to Northway and Jordan's paint schemes, although those leaves there are silver rather than gold, probably some kind of team ranking. I would imagine those are team cars between all three of them. I know on my team, we use exactly what they're doing here with the hubcaps and the mirrors, designating which driver has what, according to the color of their mirrors, and that does come down to driver preference, but that's how we can kind of differentiate between everybody on track here. As we see King exiting his pit. It does look like this may have been scheduled service. Pit stops about 40 seconds, give or take, depending on the class, but somewhere in that range. And that's about, oh, as he loses it coming out of the pits. So easy to do on cold tires. He's going to lock it down. Oh, careful of your rejoin. Such a tough spot to lose it there. Does a good job getting it going again. So easy to do coming out of the pits. You're on stone cold tires. Very easy to have it slip your mind, especially on that pit exit. It is a bit of a harder right-hand turn than you would think it is. You kind of got to slow it down just because your tires are stone cold. And he did well not to hit anything there. It's going to cost him some time, so we're going to have to see how that plays out for him in terms of the overalls. We get a quick replay here. As he made that turn coming out of the pits, the car just looped around on him. Again, so easy to do. You can see right there, and yeah, it just comes around probably as he began to get on the throttle as he tried to get rejoined there, but again, didn't hit anything, didn't no walls, just kind of heated up those rear tires, and now he's on his way. And again, we'll have to just wait and see how that plays out in terms of the on-track positioning, as I believe the 21 is having a really nice battle here with the looks like the number 5 in the GT3 class. As we maybe go to that there, yeah, there it is on your screen there, Dylan Jordan. I had it on one of my other screens here, and I just happened to look over, and they were side by side at one point. As you can see, that's LMP2 traffic. Now we have all 3 classes in shot right there. So the LMP2 is leading, GT3, and then the GTP car. You can see a good difference between the LMP2 and the GT3 cars there. As the GTP gets a little squirrely coming out of the corner, he's probably going to be able to clear both of the GT3 cars. He's not going to get to the LMP2 before we get to turn 1. We'll let him go on his way as we continue to watch this battle here going up through the S's. It's kind of cooled off a little bit as Mannering's backed off a little bit from Henry, but like I said, when I looked up, they're pretty much side by side. So try to get that up for you here as we get a look at some of our metrics in sim. We are on June 28th. It is just before 3 p.m. local time. You can see the track temp there, 20 degrees Celsius. It is cloudy. It does look like the clouds are going to hang around for a little bit, but as it stands right now, no chance of rain at the moment. That could change. We'll keep an eye on that. If it does, these cars are equipped with wet weather tires. This isn't NASCAR. We're going to keep going even if it gets wet. Don't think that's going to happen, but just in case, we'll keep you abreast of what's going on. This is probably about the best battle we currently have on track at the moment. I love that we have that track map for you. You can see everybody, even though there's not a lot of gaps, there's not a lot of necessarily, that doesn't mean that there's a lot of on-track battles, but you can see that conveyor belt. Everybody's kind of mixed and matched up with each other. So we're going to stick with this battle between Henry and Mannering, or Henry and Jordan, excuse me, for now, just to see if there is any movement there. Drivers are going to be thinking about pit stops for too much longer. The LMP2 class specifically, they can run about 22-ish laps. I know that for a fact, just because I did compete in the MEC in the LMP2 last weekend, so it's still fresh in my mind. The remaining cars, they can go a little bit longer. The GT3 class in particular can go much further. They can go almost a full hour on a single tank of fuel. So looking at things from a strategic standpoint, we may even want to consider that these GT3 cars may want to do a little bit of save fuel, a little bit of fuel save, excuse me, and see if a one stop might be on the cards, especially if we do get a full course yellow, which could happen. it's just a matter of just letting those strategies plays out and kind of see what happens with GTP. I don't believe they're going to be able to make it on one stop. It'll probably be a splash and dash. At the beginning of a run, we did see a couple early takers in the GT3 class. That may have been what was at play by making that decision. Or we may see a splash and dash at the end. Again, we're just going to have to let that play out, but pit stops are not too far off the horizon for these drivers. As Jordan there in the 21 continues to lead the class. Henry just can't quite find a way around him. These cars very evenly matched on speed, and this is classic GT3 racing. Both cars matched on speed. You'll see a little bit of ebb, a little bit of flow, but at the end of the day, very, very difficult to pass with two cars that are set up and digging into this racetrack, as we see Wayne Taylor getting around the 510 of Yankovsky, excuse me. This is a battle for position, I believe, side by side. This is good stuff right here. I do believe Taylor's going to get through here, though. Side by side is very difficult to do where those guys were making it happen. That's good. That's good racing between these two drivers right here. And Taylor's through for now, but Yankovsky's not letting him get away. He's going to be going into turn one. Good look at Matt Town there, as Robert Northway is in the pits, our GT3 leader. He's in the pits. I'm being told that I'm being told that Matt got into the wall kind of hard, so he's trying to get things squared away. We may have a replay for you that here in a minute. If we do, we'll definitely bring that to you. But it looks like he's up to speed now, so hopefully not too much damage on that machine here, as we're taking a look. And oh yeah, that's going to cause some suspension damage. He's going to have that wheel canted over to little offsetter. So that's going to make him a little bit slower in the corners. So again, we're going to have to keep an eye on that, see if he has to come in to take extra service. So another one of these developing storylines as we continue to work our way through this event. Robert Northway, a little half spin, very similar to what happened with the GT3 of King when he came out of the pits. Again, when you've been pounding around this racetrack on tires that are up to temp, and you have that grip level, as Northway is kind of drifting now, but when you have that grip level, so easy to forget. You're so focused on getting back out of the pits, getting up to speed, blending with the traffic, and in this particular instance, you're getting right into the S's, so you got to be right on it. It's so easy to forget that these tires are cold. You got to kind of let them come up to temperature. You got to take a little bit out of it, as Dan Stevens is now in the pits, and I believe this is going to be opening up the window for scheduled green flag pit stops for these LMP2 machines. Good look at Stevens there coming down the pit lane. Speed limit here 45 miles an hour, which here comes the obligatory. Feels like you're driving at a snail's pace compared to what you've been doing on track. Had to say it, had to get that out of the way, but these limits put in place for a very good reason in the real world, and that carries over here into iRacing. Taking full service as we jump to a replay. This is Wayne Hutchinson as Dan Stevens, who's currently in the pits, making a move on the 17 machine. This is coming out of turn one, headed into the S's. Stevens with a really nice launch out of turn one and getting a good tow through the S's. And my guess here is we're going to see him peak out on that final corner, peek out of the slipstream, and side by side into the bus stop. Hutchinson lets him through. Good driving on both parties there. Nice move there by Stevens, as Wiggins is now in the pits, and now we have a replay of Stevens leaving the pits, getting plenty of screen time here, and he does make it through. But even there, that car looked nervous coming out of it. So again, you're very much threading the needle in terms of getting out of there in a timely manner and not overcooking your tires, not losing time, not spinning the car out, as we see Steven's teammate Thomas Hines here in the pits. Trying to recover from that early penalty. Gav Barber also another one of those team cars also in the pits. Stuart Elder coming in right behind him as the rest of these LMP2 cars take their service. A couple more coming in. That's going to be Hutchinson and Gavin Cox as well. And I think that's going to pretty much round out the entire LMP2 field coming in to have taken their first pit stops. Northway being the first one in. He should cycle back to the lead here, as I'm hearing that Ray Partridge has an issue. Getting a look at the Dog Bear machine here. The number 8 car loops it around into the laces of the boot just off the carousel. Hard hit. He unfortunately had to tow. He's going to be in the pits there for a little bit, and he'll have to take a faster pair to get back out there. Unfortunate for him. Very easy to do. Very easy to lose the back end of the car in that particular corner, as Hintz out of the pits, rejoining the fray. Clear exit for him. And some of these other cars that have taken their service are now exiting the pits as well. Good look at Gavin Barber in the 25 machine. Pit exit, kind of calamity corner early on, but he's able to get out with no issues. Matthew Pluck coming into the pits now, as we have a side-by-side battle on pit exit. Gavin Cox and Wayne Hutchinson side-by-side with each other. Cox able to just ease ahead as both of those drivers rejoin the race. Matthew Pluck there. I believe Pluck took an early pit stop that allowed him to go a little bit further than some of his competitors. That could pay dividends as we begin to wind down this race. Again, multiple converging strategies that are going to be coming into play here. And it's to me, that's always one of the more fun parts of any kind of race, is just to kind of see how these teams go about trying to get to the end, and how do they manage those times, how do they manage the on-track action, and it's just a lot of fun to watch those strategies converge as we get closer and closer to the finish. Pluck, his service done, dusted, down and away. Now, this is an interesting, if we say, with this shot here, because I've talked a lot about cold tires coming out of the pits. The GT3 cars, as we get to the bus stop, that GT3 car is actually probably going to close up on the LMP2 of Pluck, simply because those tires are so cold. The GT3 is actually going to be faster on hot tires than Pluck will be on cold tires. And you can see very tentative through the bus stop there, almost having a bit of an off track. As you can see, the GT3 didn't really gain in that particular instance. He didn't pull away either, though. So we're in but those first few corners so critical to get those tires up to temperatures. We see Ray Partridge rejoining now, no doubt having taken a faster pair, as he is going to be back out on track. Unfortunately for him, going to be near the tail end of the field, but we're going to keep going until the end. That's kind of what we do here in the majors. We don't quit until that checker flag falls, as long as the car keeps driving for us. So it will. We'll see if Partridge can gain any spots as this race progresses. As we go back to Matthew Pluck, again, those tires should be getting pretty close to being up to temperature as our overall race leader. No, he's not our race leader. My apologies. Ewan Baker is in the pits here. Actually, he was our leader. I'm sorry. Was our overall leader. He is going to be taking his first pit stop of the day. This should be a scheduled pit stop, and we will follow that. This is going to open up the door for the remaining 4 GTP machines as well. And right on cue, here comes Garrett Batten into the pit lane, and I would look for Dance, Dowdy, and Lottridge to also join them in the pits. But I stand corrected, because Dance stayed out another lap. Still on track. So too is Dowdy. So Dance leads for now. Dowdy getting elevated up to second. There's a good look at Lottridge, and he does take the pit lane. Now, that pit entry is a part of the natural racing line. So there were special instructions given for pit entry, pit exit if you are around any traffic. And so everybody minding his P's and Q's there. Speaking of traffic, Baker's going to come out with a GT3 right there next to him. He'll be pulling away from them, no problem at all. Those GT3 or the GTPs are much faster in a straight line than the GT3s, so he should be safely away. As Batten, his service complete, he's going to rejoin. He is safely away, no issues there. That Fusion machine carving its way through the S's. Now, I mentioned cold tires for the LMP2 machines. It is incredibly difficult on these GTP machines. There's so much torque being applied to these virtual Michelins that it does take them a little while to get up to speed. You got to be very careful getting those cars up to speed, get those tires up to temp. You got to kind of baby that throttle a little bit as we watch Lottridge come out of the pits. We do want to point out Cam Dance is taking his service this time by. As you see, exactly what I was talking about, LMP2 going by. Lottridge is probably also in danger of being passed by the GT3, as you can see that there. Now that top end speed's going to kick in, he'll go back by the GT3 car, and he's going to have to take it easy. Not going to get the LMP2 before we get to the bus stop, but you can see the GT3, the 21, that's the class leader, closing up to him in the braking zone, and that is the cold tires that Lottridge is dealing with at the moment. So that's a really good visual representation of just how treacherous it is for these GTP drivers on those cold tires. It does seem as though the GTP cars do take the longest amount of time for their tires to get up to temp. It takes them a good 2-3 laps for them to begin to feel comfortable. As we cut to Dance coming out of the pits, his service complete. He is going to have a clean exit, both in terms of not losing the car and having no cars around him. He's going to have that clean air ahead of him, and that's going to allow him to put together some quick lap times while these other guys are fighting the traffic. Again, going back to that ebb and flow, you got to take advantage of the situation when you have the clean track. You got to make sure you pump in those fast times at that point in time. Ben Dowdy in the pits. And I might be mistaken, but I want to say that he already pitted for service. So I may be mistaken there. But either way, he is in the pits at the moment, looking for his pit stall. Getting told he did not pit this cycle, so that was my mistake. Thank you for the clarification there on that. So this will be a normal, regularly scheduled pit stop for tires and fuel for that machine there. Running, he was running, he's been holding steady in P4 before this cycle started. Did lead a couple laps by virtue of the pit cycle. And when you're sitting there trying to take those tires, you're just sitting there in the car going, come on, get me back out there, get me back out there. It feels like it takes forever, especially when you see those cars roaring by to the left of you on track at speed. You can see them kind of cutting through the screen there at the bottom as Dowdy down and away. As we're getting word there is a GT3 crash on the course. We will cut to that here in a minute. That's going to be Michael Hogg in the 744. Oh, he had some help. He had some help from the LMP2 machine. I couldn't get a car number on that, but race control will no doubt take a look at that. That's going to be the 52 who got into him. And yeah. Yep. It looks like it might be just a bit of a misjudgment there on the part of the 52 machine. Now, this is a good time to bring up the race control aspect of it. Drivers are able to protest incidents. And then race control will take a look at it. We do have live stewards, live admins here in this series. Hog finally able to get it going again as we go live back to Ben Dowdy working his way through the headed down to the heel of the boot as we jump on board with Dan Stevens there, working his way through GT3 traffic, getting around the BMW there. But to go back to the race control situation, Hogg could report that if he so chooses, race control does evaluate every incident that gets brought to their attention. Incidents involving cars of more than one class, they are given a much closer look than just similar class contact. So we'll have to keep an eye on that and see if race control makes any decisions on that particular instance. As we ride with Dylan Jordan, who continues to lead the GT3 class. Henry right there with him, keeping him pretty honest. That gap really has not gone much further than what you see right now. It's been under a second for pretty much the entire race. As we get a replay here, Partridge misjudges the bus stop, gets into the grass, stays low, and does a really nice job of hanging on to it as we see another car offline there. It's kind of all happening at the moment. Cam Dance, what do we have here? I think, okay. The GT3 car had a moment there in the carousel, and unfortunately danced right there to the outside of him. Dance gave him plenty of room. You're going to see a good look at it here. You're going to see the GT3 car all of a sudden kind of cut to the left here. See if we can catch it. Yeah, right. He's already going to be classed him when it happens. But I saw that first look as we jump on board that is Robbie Bradbury. He's going to have a bit of a moment. You see that little bit of counter steer there. So the back end was starting to step out on him. He counter steered to catch the slide, and unfortunately the tires gripped up in just about the worst possible spot. That was the car that we saw offline. We were checking with Partridge, and that may be why Partridge kind of went offline. He may have seen that move off in the distance and wanted to avoid it. Unfortunate moment for Dance, who was just kind of wrong place, wrong time. We'll have to see if he has any damage to affect that GTP machine as he continues to run in third place. Hasn't lost any positions, didn't lose a whole lot of time. So the car looks to be up to speed, so I think we're kind of in a no harm, no foul situation for that. Just an unfortunate incident. It does happen. But we're moving on. So we're going to jump on board here with Ewan Baker. We're going to take a short break, and we will be back here momentarily. You are watching the Major Series live from Watkins Glen. Welcome back to Watkins Glen. Hope you enjoyed that ride with our race leader, Ewan Baker, as we are back here at a very historic racetrack. Um, I mentioned at the top, the racetrack itself, it is named for the nearby village of Watkins Glen, a very small community, only about 1,800 people or so. Uh, Really, the birth of road racing took place in this general area of the country. It happened shortly after World War II, like so many other different racing disciplines. Soldiers, sailors coming home from the war, looking for that outlet to get that adrenaline rush, just to kind of feed some of that need that they obtained when they were in the combat zones. And road racing, excuse me, took place on country roads, public roads, through the streets of Watkins Glen itself and its surrounding areas. And to this day, you can still go see the start finish line from those street courses. That took place up until 1952. There was a tragic accident that led to the end of road racing in the area. But 4 years later, Watkins Glen was reborn. And that is how this absolutely fantastic racing circuit came to be. And we're incredibly grateful that it is here. In its history, the track itself, it's hosted Formula One, it's hosted IndyCar. It is synonymous with sports car racing like we're doing here. And NASCAR comes there every year as well. So just a fantastic race. Um, Traditionally held during the summer months, upstate New York, such a beautiful place, beautiful part of the country. Seneca Lake's right nearby there. So if you ever get a chance to go visit that part of the world, be sure to check out the racetrack. Be sure to check out the local area and help infuse that economy there. Um, yeah, just a little bit of history about this racetrack here as we are working just past halfway. We are 38 seconds into halfway as we see Robert Henry in the pits here. These are likely going to be scheduled pit stops for the GT3 class. Um, we did see Matt Chalker appeared to have a penalty that was assessed while we were away. Not sure what that's all about. No word from race control on that. As we see more GT3 cars beginning their pit cycle, Heath Mannering in the pits at the moment. He was in the top two. Him and Jordan were nose to tail for a good portion of that opening stanza of the race. There's Robert Henry coming in as we get a look at Heath Mannering in that Mercedes there. I'm sorry, that's Robert Henry. My apologies. Um, these are, excuse me, these are regularly scheduled green flag pit stops. We're going to see the rest of the GT3 field begin to trickle their way in, I would imagine. And since we're past halfway, these guys made it past the halfway point. I'm going to imagine they're probably going to be able to make it to the end on fuel. So just a one-stop race for these GT3 cars, unless something crazy happens. But again, Calamity Corner has been pit exit here, so we're going to follow Robert Henry. Hopefully he can get through cleanly as he's going to have traffic on pit exit. That LMP2 is going to be coming up on him quickly. The GT3 behind that LMP2 should be okay as we get Mannering coming out from his pit stop in that Porsche 911 GT3 car. Again, coming out, and he's on the loud pedal safely away and immediately into traffic. And that's just the nature of the beast here in the multi-class racing that we love so much here. These cars here that we're looking at on track, this is the same group of cars that the Majors Endurance Championship runs. They have one round left in their spring season. Garen Batten has made some announcements regarding that series, some really exciting stuff. So go check out the Inside the Majors podcast to get all of that information as we see Cam James, big off-track, big moment there coming out of the laces of the boot. Did well to keep it off the wall, though, no contact with that inside Armco barrier. So just quick off track, no harm, no foul. He's going to get back up to speed. Nicely done to keep it out of the wall, though. That's really easy to do. Once you get on the grass, you're going to be fighting it to keep it out of the fence. So well done there to recover from that moment. As Mannering, fresh from the pits, coming out of the heel of the boots, getting ready to join back on to the main portion of the racetrack. Again, I mentioned earlier, NASCAR comes to town right here where he's at right now. NASCAR does bypass the boot section, and that rejoin right there is where these cars that are running the boot section come back onto the main circuit. It's really well illustrated there on the track map as we get another look at Thomas Hines, currently running second in class. This would be after the green flag pit stops. Matthew Pluck there in third. So having a really nice run. Had a bit of a rough start, but making a good comeback there. As Northway has an issue. He's off the wall a couple of times. He's going to have suspension damage there. That's a significant hit. As he has a meatball, he's going to have to pit. I'm going to try to tow that thing back to the pits. He has had significant contact. That suspension is broken. We're going to backtrack a little bit, see if we can figure out what happened here. Connection issue, perhaps. And we are seeing this has been a bit of an issue. For me personally, I'll just be honest with you. In my practice runs for this race on the Americas side, I have been kicked out of the session multiple times. Had to do a couple of graphics configurators. I ran the IndyCar race earlier today. There were several drivers in there that were complaining about that. So a bit of a bug that seems to be going on there. Unfortunate for Northway, that's going to be a hard hit. Hopefully he can get the connection issue fixed. He is going to use a faster pair, so he should be able to get back in this race, but a lot of time lost there, unfortunately, as we get a look at Garen Batten. Coming out of turn one, going to be heading up the S's one more time. Traffic ahead of him, both in the form of a GT3, which he will get by with no problem, and the LMP2, which is going to take a little bit more doing, but you can see a good comparison there for those two speed comparisons. Good shot of the speed headed into the bus stop there in terms of the kilometers per hour. As he works his way through Ray Partridge there, by the way, kilometers. We're looking at around when you're looking at kilometers an hour, you want to deduct anywhere from 60 to about 80 kilometers, and that's how you can kind of do a basic conversion of miles an hour. Math is not my strong suit, but that's just a real quick basic version. So as he tops 260 kph, we can convert that to about, we'll call it about 140, give or take. So even there, as you can see, math's not my strong suit. But you can see that's an approximation of about how fast they'd be going in terms of miles an hour, as we enjoy watching Batten circulate this. Cam Dance starting to creep in that picture a little bit, though, so we're going to have to keep an eye on that progress and see if a battle begins to develop between these two drivers. Again, Batten having a great race so far. Dance holding steady in third place. Nice looking race car there with the purple and yellow machine. So doing a great job, as he always does. As we are currently looking to see if we can find any good battles on track, but everybody's pretty well spread out. We are kind of in this interesting portion of the race where everybody's pitted. Everybody's pitted. The GT3 guys are probably not going to have to come in again. LMP2 guys are going to have to come in one more time. GTP, I'll be upfront with you, I'm not sure, but if I had to guess, I would say they'd probably have to come in one more time. Speaking of coming in, Jake Fox is in the pits here. I don't think this is well. He did take an early stop, so this might be scheduled. This might be a scheduled pit stop because he did come in early to presumably fix some damage. So I'm going to hazard a guess this is a scheduled green flag pit stop here for Jake Fox in that 08 machine. Good looking race car there. I'm kind of liking that gunmetal gray with the blue trim. Um, Fox definitely one of the more affable characters in the majors community. Well known, well liked, well respected, and having his usual solid run here as service has been completed. He is down and away. We'll go ahead and stick with him just because, again, Calamity Corner, see if he can get through there cleanly, safely. He is going to have a little bit of traffic here coming up to him on pit exits. There's a bit of a gap he's going to be able to blend in with, but then you can see right there that LMP2 is going to be coming up on him pretty quickly. I would imagine he'll be able to clear him no problem before we get to the bus stop. As you can see right there, already through. Checking back in with Dylan Jordan. Been a little while since we saw him. He's currently second in class. Yankovsky is leading in the 510 machine. Or no, my apologies. He's down a lap. So Jordan is leading. Good look at the 510 there. That pewter livery. Reminiscent of the old school McLaren that was run back from about in the early 2000s up to about 2012. Great looking car there. I'm kind of a sucker for the shiny things, so I'm kind of enjoying that paint scheme there. As we see a little bit of a traffic jam here, as we have a safety car. Safety car has been thrown by race control. We talked at the top of the show, safety cars are possible. It's a number of different things. It could be there if there is a major incident out there on track. There is a no-tow rule in some of our series. I don't believe that's in effect here, but that is something that is in effect in the Majors Endurance Championship. But there's also an algorithm where they just will throw it. Sometimes it's completely random. Sometimes it's an incident count algorithm. Regardless of the reason, we are going to be under safety car here for the next little bit. And just to briefly explain the procedure here. We do have in some of our series a manual safety car in. We don't have that here, I don't believe. So what's going to happen is the overall race leader, Ewan Baker, who we are riding with right now, he's going to basically pass the start-finish line. He is going to slow down to pit road speed limit and allow the field to bunch up behind him. And actually, as I say that, I stand corrected because you can see the safety car coming out. So Ewan Baker's going to slow up. So there's a couple different series that we run in here, so it's a little bit different in each one. So my apologies for the confusion there. But safety car is on track. The field will catch up to it. So the field as it stands right now, as you can see, we have Baker and then the GT3 right behind him and then the LMP2 behind him. The cars as they run in order will queue up behind the safety car. Pit road will remain open for the duration of the safety car. As the queue does go by pit exit, they will close it at that point in time, but then the exit itself reopens again. As you can see, some of the cars starting to stretch out. The running order as it appears on track will remain the same until the tail end of this safety car. At that point in time, once everybody's bunched up together, we will go ahead and do a wave around for those cars that are stuck between the overall leader and their class leader, as car number 36 was the first wave around given. You'll see him come through right now. There he goes. Then we will proceed with a class split. So that will allow all the GTPs to bunch up together again. That will allow all of the LMP2s to bunch up together again and the GT3s, so that we don't have traffic that we're weaving in and out with each other. And that's the safety car in a nutshell. So hopefully clear as mud there. It is a process. It's going to take a little bit of time to sort through. Something that's recently been added here to the road courses on the major series. Again, this is a benefit of having uh, live race stewards, live admins, and allowing just to give that added level of realism and added level of strategy and just one more little wrinkle. Just one of the things that makes this major series championship such a fun series to be a part of. And welcome back to Watkins Glen. We are under caution here. Just by way of clarification, my apologies. So when I said pit lane would remain open for the duration, that was incorrect, as you saw there while we were during the break. They opened the pits for the GTPs. Excuse me, the GTPs and the LMP2s. Um, but they remain closed for the GT3 cars. The GT3 cars are going to pit this time by, as you see them taking any service, any takers there. They are going to be allowed to pit this time by. Then once the service is complete, then we will proceed with the class split. So I would anticipate that we are going to be going green here, probably about 2 laps away. Is going to be my guess here. As we can see, multiple cars coming down the pit lane. Our race control stewards will be manually removing any black flags that come about because they are following race direction and they have that discretion to do so. So, a lot of fun to watch that process play out. While we're under caution, really good look at the different manufacturers that you can see. A lot of times these cars are flashing by at speed. It's tough to see just how good these cars actually look and just the different distinctions between the different marks, especially in that GT3 class. And it also gives you a chance to get a good look at the difference between the LMP2s and the GTPs as well. So a little bit of a visual reference that'll help us out when we do go back green. Definitely a lot of fun to check that out. And even among the GTPs, we haven't really talked about that, but we have a couple different marks for the GTP. We have the Cadillacs, we have Acuras, and we also have the Porsches. We are looking at the Cadillac of Ewan Baker. Each one has their own subtle differences on the GTP machine. A lot of it coming down to headlight orientation, different nose fittings, for example. We're looking at a Cadillac here, and then we're looking at a Porsche here. You can see the difference in both the headlight cowling as well as a little bit in terms of the arrow in the way that's set up. And then if we have an Acura in the field, you can tell that from the there's a small dive plane that goes across the top of that. David's telling me that we don't. Um, Good look at the Porsche here on the GT3 cars. These machines, these GT3 cars, are absolutely fascinating. They actually start their lives as legitimate show, or excuse me, production cars that are literally bought from dealerships. And the first thing that gets done when they get to their respective race teams is to actually reduce the power that the engines produce. Um, this is so that they can comply with the regulations and templates that the sanctioning bodies have. As we get a good look at the Mercedes of Robert Henry behind the Porsche of Jordan there. Good look at the differences there. We're looking at the Ferrari of Ryan Steele, but we're gonna have to look at the rest of it later on because I believe we're about to go green as we're chasing Robbie Bradbury there. And we are back to green, which is interesting. We are going to have the Porsche of Jordan leading the pack. So we didn't have a wave around like I thought we would. We also have it also looks like a black flag for Ben Dowdy. I'm also being told that Michael Hogg had a spin coming to the line. So we got a lot going on here. We're there taking a look at the Hog incident. Oh, he's just trying to catch up to the end of the queue there and had to jump on the brakes really quickly. And there was some contact there, as you can see, the the nose body work coming off there. And that's probably going to be an accordion effect. As guys are trying to time the runs, yeah, just a big accordion effect there. Um, So unfortunate for him. We're going to take a look at Cameron Dance going off track there. Oh, yeah, that's just way too aggressive. Going through the bus stop. Real tough to do. It can be done, but there's got to be some give and take there. A little casual contact, though. No harm, no foul. Phil King here as we're in the carousel, kind of tracking. Oh, he almost had it gathered up, and then Partridge got into him. Um, that's going to be a heavy hit, heavy damage. He's going to he's going to have to come to the pits to take a fast repair there. Partridge took damage from that contact, and he's probably, yeah, he's going to park it there. Cam James with a black flag. We'll have to follow up to see why that happened as we're riding with Phil King. You can see him fighting the back end of the car, putting the counter steer in there, and my guess is, as the 99 got a piece of that as well, my guess is Partridge, not expecting him to be fighting the car like he did, because you saw the counter steer, but King was also slowing up a little bit as well. That is a portion of the racetrack where you are expecting the guy in front of you to get on the throttle. When it doesn't happen, you see Partridge hard on the brakes right there. You saw those taillights flash bright red. He did everything he could to avoid him. It's just unfortunately could not quite get it woed up in time as we're riding with Partridge here. You can see that car is not, you're not supposed to be able to see the right hand side of a car in that corner. And yeah, Partridge just unable to get it slowed in time. It's just a byproduct of cars being bunched up right after a restart. So that got a little hectic, but I think we're all squared away with everything that's going on right now as we jump back with Ben Dowdy. Through all of that, Ewan Baker has gotten through Garen Batten. Batten now running third, Dance fourth, Lottridge fifth, as we are looking at the battle for LMP2 or the LMP2 lead, excuse me, the LMP2 class lead. That's going to be Robert Northway leading the way there. They're on our screen with, it looks like Hintz there behind him in the 52. Really close here. Stevens not that far away. This is shaping up to be a pretty good battle here as we want to see if Hintz can take a quick peek down on the inside of turn one. Although, looks like Barber got through Stevens. They're behind them. And Barber charging his way through there. Oh no, that's GTP traffic. Never mind. I got kind of excited there for a second. I thought we had a real good battle going on, but that's just the GTPs working their way through. And I mentioned Baker getting through Batten. Here's a look at it right now. This is down the start finish straight, headed into turn one. Baker fully alongside, got a good run out of the final quarter, and through he goes. Textbook move there down into turn one, done, dusted, moving on to the next one. Batten falls to third, still having a good race, still on for a podium at the moment. And we'll see if Baker can progress to the lead of this race, or maybe put a battle up for the lead of this race. We'll keep an eye on that. The gap is right around 1 second, but for now we're going to keep an eye on this battle between Northway and Thomas Hintz, just because this is awesome stuff. As we can see here, we're in a real tricky part of the racetrack. I've referenced it a couple times. This corner right here we're coming up to is the slowest corner of the racetrack, where Northway's at right there. That back end gets really light. You got to be very careful with both your steering and throttle inputs, excuse me. As we do have a couple of retirements. Ray Partridge, after sustaining damage in that second crash, he has retired. So too has Cam James. That is unfortunate for those drivers. Not going to make it to the finish here tonight, unfortunately, but we're going to be locked on to this battle. This is, again, for class lead. Stevens has really closed the gap now to be a big part of this fight. He's going to be a player here before it's all said and done. I mentioned Jordan. We got Dylan Jordan here. This is also the battle for GT3. Just taking a quick peek here. Henry, these two have been nose to tail since the drop of the green flag, just shadowing each other. Jordan not letting him get away, as we're back to the overall lead, as Hintz was taking a quick peek on the inside coming out of the carousel. Getting close, not quite there. But you can see the top four in class all right there in shot. This is great stuff here among these drivers. We only have about 33 minutes left in this race. It's gone by really fast, so it is go time for these guys here. If we're going to try to make a move, now's the time to do it. We got 3 team cars directly behind that 46 of Robert Northway. Northway really coming under pressure for the first time in this race. So it's going to be absolutely fascinating to see how that plays out, how he handles it, if a car does get by. What happens at that point? Northway's been enjoying that clean air for the majority of this race. If he gets in some of that dirty air, his handling is going to be completely different. Not to mention the fact that we have three team cars nose to tail with each other. He also is running the risk of getting potentially freight trained if he does happen to lose this position. Oh, and by the way, it is for the lead of the class as well. So a lot going on here for Northway. A lot of reasons why he wants to stay in front of these three team cars that he's battling with as we check in on Wayne Taylor. This is going to be the battle for fifth place in the GT3 class with Wayne Taylor in that 60 machine. Wiggins in the 333 right behind him in the slipstream. Not going to make a move here into turn one. Going to focus on trying to get a good draft off of the S's. Maybe try a move down to the bus stop as we can see them working their way through those S's, climbing the hill one more time. Wiggins with a pretty good run. Want to see if he's going to peek out. Taylor's going defensive. Wiggins to the inside. We're side by side going into the bus stop, and Wiggins is through. Nicely done. Great job there. And that's going to promote him up to fifth place. Taylor will drop down to sixth. Well done by both drivers in that regard. Wiggins just had him set up really well, and that's a perfect example of using the slipstream to your advantage to get alongside and make the move there. And then Taylor doing a great job of being mindful of where they were on track. Real respectful racing between those two. We'll see if if Wiggins, can pull the gap down to the car in front of him as we see Matt Chalker engaged with battle with our guy. I believe that's the 510 in front of him. As Martin Waugh is right behind them. A nice little train beginning to develop here. So Chalker coming through right as we cut to them. But again, I think we have 6 cars in shot right here. So these GT3 guys putting on a show for you. Again, it is the biggest class in our race today. So we would expect most of the fireworks to come from that class. Not disappointing by any means. Chalker trying to overcome an early penalty as we cut now to Garen Batten and taking a quick peek at the overall race lead. In fact, we have a move for the race lead. Ewan Baker is back up front. Dowdy held it for a little while. Baker got through Batten and now has reclaimed his spot at the front. We have a replay to see how it happened. Baker in that trailing car. Oh, that's a tight move. A little bit of contact there too. Oh man, that's aggressive on Baker's part. A little bit of side-by-side contact, incidental. Dowdy probably not super thrilled with that, but Baker coming through nonetheless. It was a decisive move, no doubt about it. A little bit of contact, but both cars are resuming their race. As we cut back to Northway and Hines, side by side into the bus stop. Oh, Northway doing really a good job to keep it on track there. As Hines makes the move, Northway is now going to be in his dirty air, kind of like I was talking about earlier. And you can see immediately the gap that Hines begins to build as we get another look at this side-by-side battle. Hines is already through and goes defensive, trying to, as Northway kind of mounts a charge. My guess is he probably was able to get by Northway. Hines, I'm speaking about Hines here. Hines was probably able to get by Northway in turn one. Northway probably tried the crossover, used the draft to get alongside of him, going into the bus stop, trying to mount a charge. Wasn't quite there for him. And so now, as we get a look here, yeah, and he just kind of pushes offline just ever so slightly. And at this stage of the race, those marbles have built offline. You can kind of see him a little out of shape in the second half of that bus stop there. I'm talking about Northway and then Hines working his way through. So Northway's going to have to get those tires cleaned up, get those marbles brushed off of them. There's going to be a lot of buildup offline at this stage of the race. So we will continue to monitor that. But Hines has pulled the gap. He is running away for the moment. As we check in with our overall race leader, Ewan Baker, he has put about a second gap to Downey behind him. And then Batten only about 2 seconds behind them. So the gap's not super huge at the moment. Stuart Elder, first time we've really looked at him. We saw him in a pit sequence, but first time we've checked in with him. He's currently running, excuse me, 6th place in class at the moment. Having a quiet day, but a solid day nonetheless. Just kind of working his way through his race program as we jump on board with Gavin Coxon, the 555 directly behind Elder. A good view of what it's like to run one of these LMP2 machines. One of my favorite cars on the entire service. Just an absolute blast to drive. So much fun. Has a lot of grip, has a lot of downforce, but it doesn't have all the technical systems, so it's a bit more of a pure driving experience. You're not as reliant on hybrids and things of that nature. Robert Henry in that AMG Mercedes, still running second in class. And I'll say this about that AMG, probably the best sounding car in this race. Has that deep throaty roar off of the exhaust note. Great sounding car. As he has been for most of the race, has the rear wing of that number 21 car right out of his windshield. Again, these guys have been absolutely joined at the hip. Team cars, they are probably just trying to mind their P's and Q's at the moment and just build a gap and then maybe have a go at the tail end of the race here. But all race long, Henry's been right behind Jordan, not really making any moves or challenges for the race, just kind of maintaining that gap. A perfect example of two teammates working really well together. And then a great shot of that onboard, just kind of getting a feel for what the close confines of being nose to tail with a competitor looks like. And again, these guys are behaving themselves. They're probably going to continue to do that. We may see, like I said, we may see a battle towards the end of the race. But again, Henry's keeping him honest. Like if Jordan makes a mistake, Henry's going to be right there to pounce on it, and we'll kind of see if that materializes. But these two teammates working really well together. As we check in with Dan Stevens once again, he is running third in the LMP2 class, having himself a nice race. Not making any inroads on Northway. Northway holding strong in second after surrendering the lead to Thomas Hines. But again, Stevens on for a podium in the LMP2 category. Gavin Cox still stalking Stuart Elder there. Interesting to see the different lines these drivers are taking as Cox gets a really nice run out of that last corner there. See if he can maybe try to make a move. Has a peak. Not quite there, but it is going to put Elder offline just slightly. I mentioned the marbles a little bit ago. These little bits of rubber get thrown off these cars. iRacing does have marbles there in the simulator. So Elder will be feeling that. It is going to reduce the grip. It does take a little while to wear that off. So again, Cox just stalking him, maybe trying to force him into a mistake, looking for an opportunity. But what this is doing is it's bringing Wayne Hutchinson into the picture as well. He's not that far behind these two, having a great seat to see this battle up close and personal. Probably the best seat in the house to watch it. But he would love to be able to get a little bit closer. So he's wanting these two guys in front of him to start beating and banging off each other a little bit, racing each other head to head so that he can maybe sneak up in there and maybe get one or both of them, be there to pick up the pieces in case anything does happen among those two as we jump on board the 555 machine there. Coming through the carousel, and Cox is able to close it up just a baby bit. Elder able to scoot away ever so slightly as we get into the throttle application zone is what we'll call it here. Now we have GT3 traffic in front of him. Elder, this is going to leave him vulnerable for a potential attack, as you can see Cox right there looking and looking. Elder immediately goes to the right side of the racetrack. Done and dusted. Oh, as Cox comes off of the nose of that GT3 car. I think we didn't quite clear him. Is gonna be my guess. I think he thought he had the Mercedes clear, and it wasn't quite there. Tried to cut back to the left in an effort to arc his corner a little bit. Yeah, and he just looks like he just misjudged it there. Nothing that the Mercedes was doing incorrectly or could have done, but that is a heavy impact there for Gavin Cox. Unfortunately, that is going to take him out of the running as we get another look at it here as we jump on board. That's going to be Matt Town in that GT car. And yeah, just this is what we talked about when we were talking about traffic. It's you got to give and you got to take. And Matt Town, they're doing absolutely nothing wrong, doing exactly what he was supposed to do, being predictable, not moving. It was just an unfortunate mistiming there by Cox. Hopefully Matt is able to continue without sustaining too much damage. We'll have to keep an eye on that. Cox is absolutely going to have to take a fast repair after that contact. And what that is going to do is it's going to allow Elder to get away. As we take a peek at Cox here coming out of the pits. So he did take his fast repair. He was able to limp it back home. So he lost a lot of time, but not as much as if he would have had to tow. So he's back on track now, and see if he can salvage anything as we jump up to Robert Northway, still in second place. But as you can see, Thomas Hintz is just absolutely driven away from him at this point, up to a 6-second lead already. As we get a good look at our new leader, and you can see the gap there, about 2/3 of the front straightaway length. So showing some speed late in the going. Dan Stevens currently in third. Speaking of speed late in the going, he's been right there in the mix most of the race, doing a real solid job there. Working our way through the S's here. We're inside the final 20 minutes of this 2-hour event as we check back in with our guys Robert Henry and Mr. Jordan there in the 21. And we are going to enjoy the ride here for just a minute, and we're going to step aside one more time. You are watching the Major Series. Welcome back to Watkins Glen. Massive update here. Matt Chalker has a spin coming out of the boot onto the rejoin to the NASCAR track. I talked many times about how easy it is. You can see it here. The car gets super light, real easy to lose it here. And unfortunately for him, just loops it around, but that is not the big story. Keep it right here. Thomas Hintz, our LMP2 leader, is going to be coming along here in just a minute. There you see Chalker attempting to rejoin, and right there, that is the end of the race for our LMP2 leader. Massive update there. That is an unfortunate set turn of events there. And you can see there the track is completely blocked. Race control actually threw out a local yellow, alerting the drivers of the issue here. Hines was able to drive away. Chalker eventually was able to drive away. Hines is going to have to take a fast repair. Any hope of getting a class win here at this point is gone for him. huge moment in this race, and it is a byproduct of multi-class racing. And I've said it several times. That corner, the car gets very loose, very easy to lose the car there. That is just an unfortunate spot. Shocker in a tough position there, trying to get out of the way, and just unfortunately bad timing as we see Jason Lotridge having a moment as well. Looks like he kind of missed his braking point there going into what would be the heel of the boot. And he's going to go hard into that tire barrier there. That is going to be a fast repair from him. It's worth noting there was a GT3 car right in front of him, as we see massive suspension damage there. GT3 car was right in front of him. Easy to lose your braking point going into that particular corner when you do have traffic. So unfortunate for him. We will continue to watch this battle here as we are inside of the final 20 minutes. If this battle is going to take off, it's probably going to start here soon. So we definitely want to keep a close eye on that. Wanted to cut back from break just to bring you those big updates. We are going to duck out for about 30 seconds. Let me grab a swig of water. You are watching the Major Series. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Watkins Glen. We're looking at the battle for third in the GT3 class. This is Sergei Yankovsky, and he is fighting with the 16 of Heath Mannering. Looked like there's going to be a little bit of contact going in there, but not quite. This battle's been brewing for a little bit now. You saw it when we were in break. Sergei was able to get right alongside him. A little more ebb and flow here. Keep an eye on this battle as it continues to develop. A little bit of housekeeping information. Matt Chalker, the 76 car, did receive a stop and hold penalty for an unsafe rejoin. He will be coming in to serve that penalty here shortly. As you see him on screen right there, actually, coming into the pits to serve that penalty. As this battle continues to rage out on track. Mannering not really making a lot of noise so far. We have had Sergei on our screen a few times here. He's having a solid race, but Mannering coming through towards the tail end of the race when it counts. Now Robert Northway, by virtue of the issue with Thomas Hines, has re-inherited the lead of the LMP2 class as we ride with Dan Stevens, who now suddenly finds himself in second place. So we'll have to keep an eye on these guys here as well. This is the battle for the class win. If Stevens can get up there, make a big battle out of it. But he's got Matthew Pluck kind of reading down his neck a little bit as well. So we might have a three-way battle here for that LMP2 race win, and definitely the podium. As these guys are beginning to get into some fairly heavy traffic. Dylan Jordan and Henry still nose to tail. These guys are still attached by the tailpipe, I guess, as it were, and just continuing to serenely run their race. Both of these cars a full 9 seconds over the battle between Mannering and Yankovsky, so they got plenty of space to work with in terms of a threat from behind, as I mentioned we wanted to see if Stevens could close up on Northway, make a battle out of this. It looks like he is doing just that. We're coming out of the boot section back onto the main track itself. We're going to have a fast sweeping left-hander here as Stevens maybe be getting his charge to try to win this race in the LMP2 class. We are coming down to 12 minutes to go here in this race. Although Stevens did not get a good run out of that final corner, Pluck taking a quick peek going into one, but he's not going to be close enough in this instance. However, if he can get a good run out of turn one through the S's, he may be able to use that slipstream to maybe set something up into the bus stop or out of the carousel. Keeping an eye on it as that GTP is lurking. He's not going to get there before they get to the bus stop. Pluck took a quick peek, but decided to tuck back in line. This is as close as he has been to the back end of Stevens. And if you're that GTP driver, as we do have a spinner out of the bus stop, the 12 car I saw on my alternate screen, it's a GT3 car. He did have a spin in the bus stop, but we're going to keep it right here for this battle for now. There you can see that's going to be Ryan Steele. You can see here, I'm going to guess he takes, oh no, there was contact there. There was contact between himself and the Mercedes there behind him. As we can see, they're side by side here. Steele on the outside, and it's kind of tough to tell from that angle if Steele cut across or if there wasn't a turn in by the trailing car. Either way, Steele went for a bit of a ride there, backing safely away to rejoin. He's down and away. Did lose some track position though. As we go back to Matthew Pluck, that GTP finally getting by. It took him a while to get through. Very patient of that GTP driver to wait until that point to allow both Pluck and Stevens to battle it out as they are side by side in the S's. As we get one more look, here. This is replay. Now we are okay. Now we're live. Got a lot going on here. Trying to get you everything we possibly can. So I kind of got excited there a little bit. So that's on me. So my apologies there. We will get another look here in just a minute when we go to it, but we just want to make sure we're sorted out here live. First of all, Stevens has given way. Pluck has gotten through. We'll have a replay of that for you here in a minute. I did see momentarily that they were side by side through the S's. If I had to guess, I would say Pluck got the move done going into the bus stop. And now you can see a bit of a gap beginning to develop. So can Pluck run Northway down? The gap is right at 2 seconds. As we take a peek at the pass for second place here, yeah. Pluck with just a really good run out of turn one, and he actually gets the move done pretty early on in the S's. Traffic probably having a factor into that. My guess would be Stevens not wanting to go 3 wide through the S's, chose discretion as the better part of valor in this instance. Tries to come back on him into the bus stop, couldn't quite make the move there, and then it allows Pluck to go through. As we take one more look at the Ryan Steele crash, this will give us a really good angle here, and that's kind of tough to call because Steele would have expected the Mercedes to turn in right there, and it looks like the Mercedes just didn't. Although you are on the outside, although you are side by side, at some point you do have to make the corner. So that's kind of a tough break there. We'll keep an eye on that one, see what race control has to say about that. We have a pass on Sergey Yankovsky getting by Mannering there into turn one. This one's going to be a little bit more textbook there going into turn one. Sergey lines them up, gets into the inside, has the preferred line coming out of the corner, and the move is done at that point in time. Although Mannering held on for a long time there on that outside and tried to get the draft coming up through the S's there. But that is going to be the spot for Sergey, and that is for fourth in class, as we are live with Dan Stevens, currently in third place in the LMP2 category. And you can see the gap that was created already as we pop in with Dylan Jordan, still leading the GT3 category. Still has his teammate Henry for company as our overall race leader cuts through there. Only 7 minutes remain in this race. We're going to do a really quick run through the field. Right now, you're looking at our overall race leader in the GTP category, Ewan Baker. He has held this position for quite a while now, kind of dominating the race. Garen Batten holding strong in second place. He has been holding that position for quite a while as well. Batten about 9 seconds behind Baker, as you get a good look at the Fusion machine there. And then Dowdy, not that far behind him. This this could still develop into a battle for that second place. So Dowdy only 3/10 behind Batten at the moment as they work their way into the boot section of the Watkins Glen. And it actually looks like Garen just got through. Oh, Ben has a moment. So Dowdy was second, had a moment, allowed Garen to get back through. So Dowdy's going to be on the comeback trail there. Again, this is for second overall and in the GTP class as well. As we hop back down into LMP2, Robert Northway re-inherited the lead by virtue of the Thomas Hines incident from a few laps ago. Matthew Pluck running him down, though. We have a big gap that has developed from Stevens once he made that move. So Northway perhaps about to be challenged for the first time in a while in this race. We'll have to keep an eye on that as it develops for the class lead. As we have Jason Lotridge serving a black flag penalty. Nothing from race control at this point. We do have an incident point limit. We're at the point of the race where some of these drivers might be running up against that. Could be what's going on here as we get a good look at Dan Stevens running in third place, about 4 seconds back, but he has an 11-second gap back to Barber behind him. He's looking pretty solid for a podium in the LMP2 category, As Pluck and Northway are engaging in battle, this is probably going to be the best battle that we have on the track at the moment, although we are keeping an eye on the battle between Batten and Dowdy, also for second place in their respective category. Just a quick update on the GT3 category. Jordan continues to lead. Henry still right behind him, although that gap's a little bit closer than it has been. They have a full 10-second gap over Jankowski in third position in class. We'll get that 5:10 on screen one more time. I said before, really like that race car. Really like that paint scheme on that race car, As we are now in the final 4 minutes, that is your top three across all three classes. Couple of really close battles here at play for second place in both prototype categories, as Batten working his way through those Northway through those leaders. As we saw an LMP2 go off in the background, that is. That's the GTP, That was that white car right there. I couldn't see the car number, but he just got in there a little bit warm. No big deal. Just a quick little slide, and now we're back on the road. Not a problem there, as we get a good look at Ewan Baker trying to hang on for another 3 minutes. That's probably good for 2, maybe 3 laps, depending on when he crosses the line, as Pluck is right on the gearbox of Northway. He's going to be running out of time as we have just about 2 minutes and 45 seconds left. That's good, like I said, for maybe 2 more laps at this point in time. As Martin Wall comes into the pits, we'll go ahead and stay with this battle just because this is for the class win here. Pluck looking for a way through. These cars do appear to be team cars, but all bets are off. We're at the tail end of a race. This is for a class win. Northway, Pluck, Northway just hanging on to the lead. Pluck trying to find a way around him. Coming around, we are going to be looking to see if we get a white flag. Not this time. So we're down to the final 2 laps. We should be getting the white flag next time by. So Pluck running out of time, looking for a way through, see if there's any way he can get through. We'll stay here with this battle, but a quick update on the overall lead. Baker continues to lead. He's got a 14-second lead. Batten has a 5-second lead to Dowdy, so you're not missing much there. Those positions look to be pretty well locked up. This is by far going to be the best battle on track at the moment. Quickly checking in on the Jordan and Henry battle. They are very close. They are locked in nose to tail. I have that on my alternate screen. Very similar to what we're looking at on screen here with the LMP2s. Just great stuff. There's so much going on. We can't show it all, unfortunately, but great battles all around. Is this, as we see Pluck taking a peek, there is a GT3 car there. There's an LGTP lurking in the background. These drivers are busy. We are anticipating the white flag as they come to the line this time, as we are down to the final 30 seconds on the clock. Pluck lights up the rears coming out of the boot section to rejoin the main track. As we got a quick peek at the battle between Jordan and Henry. Also coming back onto the main track from the boot section. Jordan has been leading this race in the GT3 category for the majority of the race. As you can see, Barney the flagman waving that white flag. We are on our last lap of the race. As we see Jordan going defensive there, if Henry's going to make a move, now is the time to do it. The LMP2 there kind of got a little squirrely on exit. That might compromise Jordan a little bit as we come up through the S's. Henry trying to get the draft. He's taking a peek. He's got to run. Are we looking? He's looking. He's side by side through the bus stop for the final time. Oh, and there may have been just the slightest little bit of contact there as they work their way through the bus stop into the carousel. That's going to allow Jordan to sneak ahead ever so much. In the meantime, Matthew Pluck is side by side with Robert Northway. Coming into the heel of the boot, these guys side by side. Pluck's going to have the preferred line, and we are holding. Pluck is going to be through. It looks like coming through. No, Northway hangs on to it. They're side by side. Pluck has the inside line, but Northway's going to have the preferred line. Pluck underneath as we come out of the final corner. And it's going to be Northway just hanging on. What a battle between those two. Let's see if we can get Jordan. There we go. Thanks so much for that. Dylan and Henry, they're coming into that same section here to finish out this race. Again, this is for the class lead, and Jordan is going to go ahead and hang on to it. Thrilling battles in both LMP2 and GT3 for the win. We do not want to shortchange Ewan Baker whatsoever. He did take the win, but he had a 19-second advantage. We wanted to see the battles for the lead in the LMP2 category and the GT3 category. Good look there at our overall race winner. Congratulations to him. What a race. That was a lot of fun, especially in the LMP2 category and the GT3 category. Fantastic driving by both of these guys. And we see Baker there doing some celebratory donuts. race control give us a little bit of tongue-in-cheek snarkiness there, so that's kind of why I paused there for a second just to see if there's anything relevant. Just having a little bit of fun now that the race is over. We are, um, yeah, we're gonna see if we can get our race winners in here, do some quick interviews, and see if we can talk to some of these drivers fresh from the track. We're going to take a quick break while we allow our drivers to get into the interview. We'll be back in about 30 seconds. You are watching the Major Series. Welcome back to Watkins Glen. We just finished up what was a thrilling finish, especially in the LMP2 category and the GT3 category. We are now joined by the GT3 race winning driver in Dylan Jordan. Dylan, we talked a lot on the broadcast about you and your teammate just kind of going nose to tail. Was that by design? Were you just trying to drive away from for everybody else and fight out for yourself, or was that just did it just organically play out that way? Like how did that come to pass?
I know Robert and how he races, and there's no way that I'm beating him on a fuel saving race. So I went balls to the walls, and he was going to save fuel regardless. So that's sort of where that one played out.
And then you mentioned offline briefly that you were just basically hanging on for dear life on the fuel save. Can you walk us through kind of the anxiety level, what was going through your mind, all that fun stuff?
Yeah, so I had to pit at about the 55-minute mark. So I knew that if it stayed green, there was no chance of me making it. But the safety car sort of threw in some maths, so I had to play it on the sort of go by how I was feeling on the lap and hope that Robert didn't take too much advantage of it. So yeah, finish with 0.09 liters and a bit of a cough over the finish.
And that last lap looked fantastic. We were fighting back and forth between yourself and the LMP2 category. Both categories had amazing battles for the finish. Walk us through that last lap from your perspective.
The last lap, I knew Robert was going to get a run into the bus stop, so it was just hold it on the outside of the first apex and hope we both make it through. Someone was going to be in front, and after that, I think that was pretty much the only shot he had. So pucker up and send it.
Well, awesome, man. It was a lot of fun to watch. You guys put on a fantastic show. So thank you for the entertainment. Congratulations on the win. Anybody we want to give a shout out to here before we let you go?
Yeah, shout out to the Kiwi Sim Racing guys. Robert in particular puts in a lot of work. Robert Henry as well, and Robert Northway in the LMP2 class. And to all our sponsors, so we've got Paul McKenzie Tyling's come on board this year, and then Speed Nation's been with us for a few years. So yeah, thanks to those guys.
Awesome. All right, Dylan. Well, hey, thanks so much for joining us, man. Congratulations on the win, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah, thanks guys.
That was your GT3 leader race winning car put on a thrilling show between himself and his teammates. So we're going to see if we can get our LMP2 winner in here in Matthew Pluck. Let's see if we can get him in here in a minute. Um, so we'll just pause for a second while we get him in. And we were going to try to get our LMP2 winner in here. We were waiting on that. So we're going to pivot and talk to our overall race leader instead. Ewan, congratulations on the win. It looked kind of comfortable, quite frankly. You had a big gap there at the end. I'm sure you were working hard inside the race car. I'm sure it was not comfortable for you. Can you walk us through your race?
Yeah, just focusing on getting a good start, not messing up on the cold tires, and then settle into a rhythm. I sort of knew what sort of pace I could do. I knew sort of what pace to run, not to cook the rear tires, and yeah, just stretched the lead and picked off the traffic, and yeah, it was quite comfortable until the safety car came out, and then turns the race on its head a little bit. But good bit of fun and a good battle there with Ben. So yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, the battle with Ben definitely picked up quite a bit there after the safety car for sure. Did the traffic play a role into that? They didn't really do a class separation at the end of the safety car period, which kind of surprised me a little bit. How did that look from your perspective?
Yeah, I was just a bit confused because my mind blanked on the driver briefing, which was quite bad on my part. And I wasn't sure if you could overtake before the before the start line. I'm so used to running series where there is no overtaking, so I decided I'm not sure, so I'm just going to hold back. And at that point, yeah, Ben and Garen jumped me on the start, and Cam had a bit of a look as well. So yeah, a bit of a whoopsie on my part, but no, I knew I had pace to sort of fight back, and even though Ben defends like an absolute lion, I knew it wasn't going to be easy to get past him. I just thought I'll wait for my moment and be brave and send it.
Very nice. So we just did MEC here at Watkins Glen. We got the iRacing 6 hours of Watkins Glen coming up. You going to compete in the 6 hours here, or have you had enough of this place for a little while?
Potentially, I need to see what my schedule looks like and what's going on in real life. But yeah, I love racing around this track, and yeah, honestly, GTP is absolutely mega around here. It just handles so nicely. So yeah, I wouldn't be adverse to doing a 6 hour race around. And but yeah, I'll see how I go.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for joining us. Anybody that you want to shout out here before I let you go?
Yeah, massive thanks to the team at SSR. So yeah, joined them full time now, and it's been a really awesome time, awesome bunch of guys, and big thanks to our sponsors as well, Suitspeed and Watercraft.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for joining us, taking us a couple minutes. I'm sure you want to go rest, stretch the legs, get some water. So really appreciate your time. Congrats on the overall win, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you very much.
That was your overall race winner, Ewan Baker, in the number 34 machine. We're going to try to get Robert Northway in here in just a second to talk about that absolutely thrilling finish in the LMP2. Give us like 20 seconds. We'll be right back. And last but not least, we have Robert Northway, our LMP2 class winner. Robert, I don't know if you know this, but you guys hands down had the best battle on the track in those closing laps. We were absolutely on the edge of our seats. You guys put on an absolute show. Can you walk us through just briefly what it was like from your perspective?
It was usual fantastic battle. I've probably had 50 or 100 of those battles with Pluck over the last however many 20 up to 20 years of racing with him. So I knew as soon as he caught me, I could trust him. I could trust him to push the limits but never step over. So I could try and battle him hard. I was really struggling with really old tyres because no, I was trying to go for the extra stop, and then that safety car came out. So I decided to leapfrog everyone and not take tyres, but that and put myself up front. But that meant I was really struggling towards the end of that stint.
Very nice. Now, you and Pluck, I believe you guys are teammates. Is that correct?
Yes,
Okay,
yeah.
yeah,
Both
yeah.
part of KSR.
Yeah, just wanted to make sure the cars did look similar, but just wanted to make sure. So, um, did it he wasn't really there for a lot of the race. He just kind of like came out of nowhere there towards the end. I know you had a moment where Stevens got by you, and then he was unfortunately involved in an incident later on. When you lost the lead, was there any concern that you'd get it back? Like what was happening at that point in time?
It was Thomas Hins, but
Oh,
yeah,
Thomas, yeah, you're right.
uh, I kind of knew I didn't have the pace for him anyway, so I wasn't too stressed about trying to let him go. He was going pretty hard, and we were marginal on fuel, so I was like, "Oh, is he actually saved enough?" But yeah, he had that bad luck. So yeah, but I wasn't concerned at all about him going by. I was more worried about keeping Stevens behind me and then keeping Pluck behind me.
Nice. And yeah, I was Thomas Hines. My apologies for the error there. Last time I talked to you at Indy, you were going to do the triple. Are we doing that again this go around?
I wasn't planning on it. Then I realised tomorrow is a public holiday in New Zealand. So yes, I am. I'm going to do all three races.
Okay. Well, I will see you on track tomorrow. Then I'll be the real slow guy that you lap about 6 times. So, um, but don't want to keep you too long. Do appreciate you stopping by. Thank you for putting on such a fantastic show. Anybody that you want to shout out here before I let you go?
Yeah, but as per usual, the team at KSR, good bunch of blokes to race with, especially this week with all the battles we had on track. Obviously, our sponsors, Speed Nation, best place in New Zealand to get your sim hardware. InspireNet, our oldest sponsor, been with KSR in one form or another for 20 plus years, and Paul McKenzie Tiling. So, and of course my family. So,
Awesome. All right, Robert. Well, hey man, congratulations again. We did this just a couple weeks ago. Maybe we'll do it again next time out. But for now, go get some rest, and we'll see you on track here in just a little bit.
see ya. Thanks for the broadcast.
All right. Robert Northway, your LMP2 class winner. We might get a little bit of extra bonus coverage here. Let's step aside for just a quick second and see what kind of shenanigans we can come up with. We'll be right back. All right, a little bit of bonus post-race coverage here with a battle like that. We had to talk to him. Matthew Pluck, second in the LMP2 category. My man, that was an absolute thrilling battle between yourself and Robert Northway. I got his perspective on it. He had a lot of good things to say about you. What did it look like from your cockpit?
Yeah, no, it was really good. I knew he had an older tyre than I did, so I knew I had a bit more drive through the back end of the track. But I was mindful he's also a teammate, so I don't want to kill him either. So I knew he'd defend me pretty hard, and I knew I'd try to stick it around the outside with a better tyre. And it was really good. We both left each other space, and it was a lot of fun. Couldn't quite get the drive out of that tight left-hander, unfortunately. He was able to clear me into the back section, but it was a lot of fun and a really good result for us.
Yeah, he said just about the exact same thing you just did. And I got to tell you, we were on the edge of our seat watching that. It was absolutely amazing to watch. Great battle, very respectful from both of you guys. You were kind of quiet until the very end. Can you kind of walk us through kind of what your race was like up until that point?
Yeah, I knew if it was green all the way, we were pretty tight on fuel. So I'd been fuel saving the first couple of stints, and I think I'd had a lap or two up my sleeve on the rest of the field. So when that yellow flag came out for the safety car, I was gutted. I was like, oh man, fuck. Also, I shouldn't swear. But yeah, no. So then after that safety car came out, it was about 44 minutes to go. I was like, man, it's still gonna be really tight on fuel. So I ducked back in on the second lap just to take a splash. Which I don't know in retrospect if it's the right idea, because I ended up using the extra fuel getting back up to the leaders. But it was worth a shot. I don't know if those guys were going to make it or not. And I think with how much Dan dropped off on the last few laps, he was very tight. So talking about a gamble, it was more exciting coming through at full speed than trying to fuel save the whole way. And it worked out all right.
It was a lot of fun, lot of fun to watch, and then like I said, that closing battle just absolutely fantastic. So, appreciate you sticking with us. I know we were waiting for a little bit just because of the interviews that we had to get through. Anybody that you want to give a shout out to before we let you go here?
Yeah, of course. Kiwi Sim Racing, we got, I don't know, 12 cars on the track today or whatever. And I think we got podiums pretty much in every class. So awesome for the boys to put in a good result. Our sponsors, Speed Nation, Inspire Net, Paul McKenzie Tiling, New Zealand Sim Racing TV, and also Apex Labs setups. Me and Northo were both using their setup today in the LMP2, and it definitely worked a treat. So good shout out to them. And just a quick shout out to Hinsley. Like, he had so much pace. I watched him back, and that's just really unfortunate for him. Sad to see it happen that way. But I'm still a racer. I'm still going to take the points. So cheers for the spot.
Awesome. Yeah, no, definitely. Unfortunately, with Thomas there, it does happen sometimes, but you hate it when it does. So, thanks again for joining us, and thanks again for a fantastic finish. And we'll see you next time. And you have a good rest of your day.
Cheers, guys. Love your work.
All right, thanks. And I think we're going to get one more interview here. Again, just fantastic battles. And since he wanted to come in, we're not going to tell him no. So we'll have Robert Henry for you here in just a minute. We're going to step aside while we get him in. And I'm going to echo what I said when we brought Matthew Pluck in. When you see a finish like that, and when the guy who finished second is willing to talk to you, you definitely take advantage of that opportunity. Robert Henry, fantastic battle between yourself and your teammate there for the GT3 win. We had a very similar battle with LMP2. Definitely recommend checking that out when you get a chance. But you guys were nose to tail pretty much the whole race, and it kind of looked like it was very much orchestrated that way. Can you walk me through what that was like from your perspective, just staring at that 21 for 2 hours?
Well, look, first of all, that Porsche was just outrageously good getting the power down off the turns, as the Porsche is. And Dylan was good too. He didn't make any mistakes. So there was no opportunities there, really. He got the run on lap 1, and he got fully alongside, so I let him have it. And then I followed him around for 30 laps after that. So I saved a ton of fuel. I made it to lap 34, which was 3 laps longer than him. And then, safety car kind of ruined everything there. So he managed to save enough, just. I think he ran out of gas about 50 metres before the line, and I just spent that whole of that last stint. We had a bit of an incident fairly early after that pace car. We got together twice in the chute and then again in the hill. I was just trying to push him, get him to use fuel, and hey, it almost worked.
Almost worked. And you guys, especially those last few laps, like we were checking in often throughout the broadcast because we're like, hey, he's right there. Is he going to make a move? Like, what's going on? But it kind of sounds like what you were saying is that you guys were battling. It's just one of those where you're just about even on pace. Um, the last couple of laps when you guys were kind of getting into desperation mode, trying to race each other, it was fantastic. It was respectful. We loved every second of it. Um, what's it like when it's your teammate? You know you can race the guy, but when it's your teammate, do you try to hold back, or do you just want to beat him that much more? Like what's the dynamic there?
Well, Dylan and I are pretty even on pace, right? So you saw that tonight
Mhm.
across the race. The only advantage that I was ever going to have was going to be a fuel advantage. I spent a lot of time, put a lot of effort, and a lot of study into learning to save fuel. And to give you an idea, I was saving around about 220 milliliters per lap across that 34 lap stint. So it's somewhere between around 7% fuel saving, which is massive. And I was only able to achieve that because I had a car to follow. It was an awesome race. Had a great time. Racing against Dylan is always good because he is a clean driver. He gives and he takes along with the traffic. So it was a fun 2 hours, that's for sure.
Well,
But
I'm sorry.
uh,
Go ahead.
no, sorry. So yeah, no, definitely all on for the win. So teammates is one thing, but race wins is quite another. So that was all on. There was nothing being held back. We were full on racing there to the finish.
Awesome. That's what we love to hear. And I gotta tell you one more time, man, you guys put on one awesome show. It was a lot of fun to watch. We were on the edge of our seats. So thanks for stopping by. Thanks for putting on such a great show. And anybody you want to shout out here before I let you go?
I got a few family watching this broadcast, so shout out to them if they hung in there all the way to the end of the interview.
Hey, family.
Team at Kiwi Sim Racing are awesome. Good respectful racing. So awesome race. Thanks for putting it on.
Awesome. All right, Robert. Hey, thanks for stopping by. And best of luck to you going forward. And congrats again on the podium finish.
Thanks, man.
Robert Henry, that second place in GT3, put on an awesome finish. And that is just about going to do it for us here at the majors. But plenty of action upcoming. We got the majors 24 hours of Le Mans just this coming weekend. We have the Majors Endurance Championship coming up a few weeks after that. The next Majors Series race will take place on the weekend of August 8th. That is going to be the NASCAR Brickyard 400 for the first time in this series history. Real excited to do that. But until then, I'm Tim. He's David. Thanks so much for joining us. Hope you enjoyed it, and everybody have a good night.